Hello, it is Zach with a podcast named Tim, and today we're going to be talking about Star Wars Jedi Search by Ken Anderson. Before we get into the Legends book review, please do give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. It always helps out, getting this in front of people and all that good stuff. So, this is my first time reading this. Had never played around with some of the Legends books. Read the Thrawn trilogy, some of the ones actually before that as well, from the 70s, and then some other books here and there. But a few years ago, I started collecting a lot of the old Legends books with the intent of reading them chronologically. I've switched over to publication order at this point, but I typically do audiobooks, but I've collected all these Legends books, so decided to go ahead and read this because I had not actually physically read a book. Been doing too many audiobooks lately and needed to read something. And I guess the question is, how good is the new blockbuster saga, as it says here? It's okay. It's very different, and that's one of the jarring things about getting into some of the Legends books. And I'm sure a lot of people like it, especially if you grew up with Legends. I can totally get it, but to me, some of the things where the book is so different from the modern idea of Star Wars, I think it actually hurts the book, because it's just hard for you to get your head, at least for me, to get your head wrapped around some of the characters and how they work and how their motivations are, and just other little things like that. So what did I like about the book before we get into it? Some of the negatives. I like the idea. I mean, look, this is the first of the Jedi Academy trilogy. So Luke is going to go out, form a Jedi Academy. Of course, he did that now in canon, where I don't think we've seen that yet. We've seen the destruction of the Academy, but this is him going out to form the Academy. But it's a little misleading because it's in the very early stages. Basically, he goes out to the New Republic Senate and says, hey, I want to form a Jedi Temple. Please find me a planet. And they are all like, cool, more Jedi, great. But some of the ways that the Force works are really weird in this book. Basically, Luke has a thing where he can put his hand on your head and force, do a force pulse, like a force interrogation. I don't know, to dive into your mind. And if you have the Force, basically you have an automatic reflex that'll trigger to prevent you from probing the mind. And so that was an interesting, test of Force sensitivity. And the other thing that was weird was there's a machine that they can just kind of scan you, and you can, if you glow blue, basically you have the Force. Which is funny because, a lot of people didn't like midichlorians, a lot of the more scientific ideas of the Force, and this is very much in that vein, that it's very scientific and much less ethereal, I guess, or religious in some respects. So I didn't like the very scientific approach to the Force that was in this book, but I did enjoy Luke in this. I thought he was well done. I thought Han was well done. I thought Lando was good, although he has a side story that was not. Basically, he goes out to try and find the lead on one of the potential Jedi recruits, and it ends up just being a gambler who is working the system. And but it's called a obstacle course, like obstacle course, but there's blobs, so it's a blobstacle course, which is a terrible name, and it just kind of went nowhere. It was filler, in my humble opinion. So I didn't really care for that. Han and Chewie are out trying to go to Kessel to kind of recruit them into the New Republic. And unfortunately, it has been overthrown by some people who were in a jail there, and now Han and Chewie are basically thrown into the spice mines on Kessel and have to get out. They meet Kip there, who's a young lad who has basically been in the spice mines his whole life. Liked him a lot. Very, I don't know, just a good, hopeful character, but you could see there's some darkness there. He is sensitive with the Force. The big display of this is at one time he's able to like guide them through the mall, which if you remember is like the giant just cluster of space where like the Kessel Run occurred in the Han Solo movie, and so he is able to transport them through there using the Force. Unfortunately, when they arrive in the middle of of there after they escape, there is a giant. There's like a what's it called? A Imperial like base in some respects, like in the middle of this black hole, and they're developing basically super weapons, find ways to kill rebels, and they have been so cut off from everything that's been going on. They have no idea that the war has ended and that Tarkin is dead. They basically missed the entire Star Wars movies, and the admiral there, Admiral Dala, who is a female, and that's of note because typically in Imperial ranks, it's no aliens, no women, it's just white men basically. I actually don't know any of any African Americans or Asians that, I mean, I'm sure there are. I know Captain Ray Sloan in canon, but in Legends, I don't know of any. It's like white British guys basically. And so we find out was romantically involved with Tarkin, which is weird to think about, but she's there basically guarding some scientists, and they're there to build they built the Death Star. At least in this story, I think it was retcon. Someone said later that I was doing some research on, but they built the Death Star. They built other super weapons, and they have now built and some of the scientists are like in denial. They're like, it's just for farming or something, or mining. So that's kind of weird. But they have built the Sun Crusher, which is I guess in the vein of the Death Star, another kind of name like that. And the idea is they want to, it's like a souped up version of a Death Star, but it's just in like one small freighter style ship. It's impenetrable, and you can't do, it's like every fan idea you would ever have for a ship. Like, you can't hurt it. It can destroy solar systems. It's blah, 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 all that stuff. Han and Chewie, of course, steal this with Kip and one of the scientists who realizes maybe we were doing bad things. But one of the biggest issues I had with the book was Leia. And in the Disney canon, or the canon, I guess, there have been so many great books that I'm trying to pull up some of the names here just so I don't miss any. You have Leia, Princess of Alderaan. You have, I'm still going to miss them probably. You have Bloodline. There's a couple other ones that have been done. There's just so many great books that she's done, or that were about Leia, and that character's been so developed, and she's so, I don't know, just hopeful and resilient and strong and just all the great things you would want. And she's not, in my opinion, well written in this book. And part of it is that the way that they handle her children, Jason and I don't remember the other one's name, 2 J names, and they also have Anakin. They have 2 kids, the twins, and Anakin. They basically, she just like sends them off with Winter, who is a aide of hers, and put them in hiding so they're protected from people. And I'm just like, Leia wouldn't do that. Leia has this like strong sense of self, but she's also, motherly, and I mean that in a good way. Like, she's very devoted to family, and so is Han in some respects. And I don't know, I didn't buy them sending their kids off for like 2 years, but to be like, we'll be your parents in 2 years, goodbye. I'm too busy building the government. And so I didn't really appreciate that. So I think the Lando stuff, the Force stuff, now that I'm talking about it, I think I've talked myself down. I had this at like 3 out of 5 stars. I think I've talked myself down to a 2 just because I don't really care for Lando. Lando the character has done well. Lando's side quest has not done well, or is uninteresting. I didn't care for how they did Leia and the kids. I didn't like the super weapon stuff, and I didn't like the scientific nature of the Force. But part of it is, it's hard to say. It's hard to properly rate these early books that come out prequels, because George Lucas, I don't think had given the full vision on what Star Wars was, which is weird to say, I guess, in some respects. But he, so it's hard to rate these books, but I would skip it. I think I could see where people would like it, but I think some of it might be rose-tinted glasses from maybe a little nostalgia. But that's my thought on Jedi Search. I am excited to get into some of the other books. I should mention, I guess I didn't even talk about it, the actual Jedi Searching. It's not, to me, it's not really a huge part of the book in some respects. But Luke finds 2 apprentices and Kip, who Kip is clearly, obviously, going to be the evil one who's going to betray everyone. I don't even need to read the other books, it's obvious. But he finds like a volcano planet where there's a guy named Gantaris or something like that on there. They're all just so old, like really old. But basically he's like, hey, what about your people? And they put them on Dantooine, and this guy who has actually a vision of a dark man who's going to harm him decides to go with Luke. And then there's another guy who I don't remember his name at all, but his interesting character trait is that basically he has a hard time like shutting out the voices. Like they're just all the voices whenever he's around people. He's so tapped into the Force and doesn't know how to control it that he can hear like everyone's thoughts, and it's just very over cumbersome for him. So that was actually a really interesting idea. But so he has Kip and then like 2 old guys who don't want to be around anyone, and so it's a weird Jedi Temple to begin with. And I am curious to see how the actual Jedi Templing, Jedi Academy stuff will be going on. Just, it's all the other stuff that I didn't really care for. I would have liked more of Luke searching out potential leads and building the temple and reading text, and just, I would have liked more of that stuff. But I understand why someone would like it. I think that isn't everything. I'm sure I've still missed some stuff. There are some characters that are on Kessel, but I don't really think they're that important. But that's my thoughts on Jedi Search by Kevin J. Anderson. And we'll definitely be reading, I think, Courtship of Princess Leia is next, at least in the Legends books. Waiting for the next Thrawn book, which I believe is called The Greater Good, to come out before. That'll probably be the next review I do. So that's my thoughts, and see you next time here on a podcast named Tim.